From catgirls to heavy machinery to filling a single map with the same tower, I want to test a massive range of TDS loadouts. After all, I have these 35 towers, yet I can only bring 5 units in game at a time. So there are a lot of options, like this team, full of terrible towers, which did a combined damage of maybe like 7 health, I don't know. Obviously I had no real chance of winning, despite having a good amount of experience with this loadout. And I'd say the real worst aspect of it is the complete lack of style, which can't be said of Ranger, which I grabbed alongside the iconic DJ and Commander to create the Neko loadout, also featuring Engineer with the very nice looking mechanic skin. Plus I brought Farm, being a fanboy with a dual modder setup. Although this team was cohesive, I didn't know if it would be enough to win on Badlands, one of Tower Defense Simulator's harder game modes. Loading in, our early strategy was questionable. I initially placed Engineer, however this left me without enough money for the Neko DJ, which I guess must have discouraged Breno, because he sold his tower and left the game, leaving me, M8I, and Sasshawk with a major deficit, not to mention an unfortunate language barrier. Still, the function of the towers was universal, and after surviving the early game, I made it a point to get the 2 support towers, no doubt raising team morale, yet also not really helping much with the zombies. I placed Ranger, upgraded my towers, farmed, had an interesting interaction with my teammate where we both tried to chain Commander's Call of Arms ability in tandem with each other. Our synergy wasn't great. Surprisingly, we made it to wave 30, with neither of my teammates having any special towers. I mean, this loadout honestly was seeming pretty great for the next 5 waves, at the end of which we finally succumbed to the ever-increasing horde of buffed zombies. Not a bad performance, but a major problem had been our lack of support, so I figured maybe that would be a better style of loadout, and I grabbed 5 debuffing towers, with freeze, electricity, poison, freeze, and fire. Matchmaking then paired me with someone doing the 2 tower challenge. I'm gonna have to one up that later. My team farmed, standard. However, this meant I was burdened with defending, which this team wasn't really meant for. I placed a toxic gunner, and honestly it sucked, did essentially nothing. And I regretted my life choices in leisure. Until finally my teammates stepped up and bailed me out. As the game progressed, my towers actually got stronger, by helping my team with their variety of nerfs. But still, it just wasn't very good. And I would only really recommend this if you're a level 200 player who can get carried by your teammates, which I am. So hey, a win is a win. Still, I had to admit that loadout wasn't great. But what if you could combine multiple elements from different teams with the balanced loadout, as it is generally superior to bring a bit of everything as opposed to all of one thing. I mean, everyone does it, and it's easy to see why. Here's a win, here's a win, here's another. Honestly, it's almost too good. Like subscribing. It's free and only takes a second, and honestly I'm not sure how much I like it. For one thing, it's mildly complex. I mean, there's actually different ways to play it out. Even when winning, that feels like a bit too much brain power is required. So what if there was an easier way? Introducing the 1 tower loadout. It's simple. Just bring a single type of tower, spam it relentlessly, and win. It's foolproof, requires no thought, and is certain to work sometimes. Like with the shotgunner. Admittedly, a tower I haven't used much, but it used to be really good, so I'm sure it's totally possible to solo Molten. Okay, yeah, I didn't really expect that to work, but what about Executioner? The main strength of this tower is its great crowd control, thanks to its ricocheting axes, except it's really not so good for bosses. I barely managed against the slow bosses, but I had to place some more towers, except I couldn't, because it has a placement limit of 8. I honestly forgot about this, so I had to sell and replace some, barely surviving and disrupting my momentum. I struggled on for a few waves, but had no chance against the speedy bosses, making it clear that to really win a solo game, I needed an upgraded tower. Maybe like a tower which had a literal button to upgrade its strength in the golden towers, where I first grabbed Cowboy. I mean, I know for sure that people have beaten Molten with just this, so shouldn't be too much of an issue, and it really wasn't. I was making a ton of money, doing decent damage, and then the speed bosses came back, where I realized I wasn't doing as much damage as I thought I was, and the speedies hit me with about 1000 DPS of their own, so yeah, that was pretty embarrassing, and I had to pin my final hopes on Goldscale, one of the absolute cheapest towers which surely could get the job done. I decided to just spam them and reach the tower cap as early as possible, getting 40 of them down by wave 22. From there I upgraded them in stages, had another very scary moment with the speedy boss that actually did make it to the final boss. Normally the Molten boss is pretty easy, but here his stun ability was incredibly annoying with no support to heal it. I had to move quite a few of my bunny scouts. With only 7,000 health remaining, he stunned my towers again, but that put his ability on recharge, allowing the scouts to take him down at this far leg of the path, proving Goldscale is literally strong enough to win by itself with no strategy. It's pretty insane just how powerful this single tower is, being almost on par with something like the Duck Hunter. Yeah, that's a segue, huh? That's all, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, consider subscribing. I got several actually pretty cool videos planned in the coming months, so you don't want to miss those.